You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the October 9th, 2023 meeting of the Long Beach Town Council. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Meeting come to order. Stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you everybody for being here tonight at the October meeting of the Long Beach Town Council. President LeMay is present on Zoom, as is John Wall. So with that said, I'll entertain approval of a motion to approve the minutes of the council meetings on August 14th, September 11th, 25th, and October 3rd.
So moved.
Second?
I second it.
All right, all in favor, we have to do this by vote. Coker says yes. Mary Lou?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Dr. LeMay? Yes. John Wall? Okay. Next item is Police Department Commission report and town administrator and Chief Swistick, if you would be so kind.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of September, the Long Beach Police Department responded to 278 calls for service when compared to 220 calls for service in the previous year, for an increase of 58 calls for service. During the month of September, 22 incident reports were documented. A total of 16 individuals were arrested. 2 felony arrests for operating a motor vehicle with a prior conviction in the past 7 years. 2 felony arrests for serious violent felon in possession of a firearm. A felony arrest warrant for theft. A domestic battery misdemeanor arrest. A public intoxication arrest. 3 misdemeanor OWI arrests, and 6 traffic-related misdemeanor arrests. The majority of the increase in calls for service were officer-initiated activity, and I would like to thank our deputies for the work that they had performed in the month of September. They were quite busy. I would like to highlight one incident that occurred on September 7th. It was on our midnight shift, and at that time a lot of us are in bed sleeping, and we trust our deputies at night are doing an excellent job protecting the town. And Deputy Mitchell Seitz, shortly after 1 a.m., observed a vehicle on Chastleton Drive that was driving erratically. He then continued to follow the vehicle and went down to Lakeshore Drive, made a left-hand turn at stop 22 on Lakeshore Drive. He then followed the vehicle and eventually stopped the vehicle in the 1400 block of Lakeshore Drive. The truck, occupied by 2 males, pulled into a driveway. During the traffic investigation, a 32-year-old driver from Wanatah, Indiana, was determined to be intoxicated, and as well, the passenger in the vehicle were intoxicated. It was determined that both of them were drinking earlier in the day at a nearby bar. During the investigation, a Taurus handgun was recovered inside the vehicle between the 2 occupants, well within arm's reach of the 2 occupants while speaking with Deputy Seitz. Both individuals were found to be serious violent felons with previous felony convictions. Therefore, Deputy Seitz took both individuals into custody and charged them with a level 4 felony offense. Also, the driver was charged with operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, and both were transported to LaPorte County Jail for processing. So an excellent job that night. I'd like to commend Deputy Mitchell Seitz. He's one of our 2 midnight officers that continues to keep the community safe. On the police side, the only other thing of importance is we had 4 wildlife discharges where we had to shoot 2 deer and 2 raccoons. 2 raccoons that were sick, and then 2 deer. One was injured, hit by a vehicle, and came to rest in a nearby yard, and the other one was out on State Road 212 and US 12, was struck also by a vehicle.
Mark, when he pulled those people over, does he call for backup?
Very good question. So, and I was actually going to cover that tonight. So,
Okay. I just,
and I appreciate you asking. So what happens is when we come across incidents, as I described earlier, we often receive assistance under mutual aid from surrounding police departments. It could be the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department, Indiana State Police, Michigan City, and Trail Creek. Sometimes I'm asked, why do the Long Beach police deputies go outside of Long Beach to help the other surrounding communities? And the simple answer is because they come here to help us as well. Just 2 weeks ago, Deputy Yagelski and myself were sent to the intersection of 11th and Pine Street near the South Shore Station in Michigan City at about 11 o'clock in the morning for a fight in progress. The Michigan City Police Department didn't have any units available for the fight in progress. Deputy Yagelski was dispatched. I was already out in my vehicle, so I had headed into Michigan City to assist him, and we actually arrested a 16-year-old female that was battering her mother at the time because Michigan City did not have any units available to cover that call. Michigan City doesn't charge us when they come to help us, and we do not bill them when we go to help them as well. So just want the community to understand that these are standing mutual aid agreements, no different than our fire department has the same thing. When we have a major fire, other departments come and help us. On the Police Commission side, we held our meeting on October 5th last week at 4 p.m. All the commissioners were present. I had provided an update that the deputies now are carrying their new Glock 9mm handguns that were authorized to be purchased by the town council. The deputies went through a one-day transition course. The reason for the new handguns is because of the new sighting system that are on the handguns. They have what they call the red dot system. It's an actual red dot mounted on top of the firearm. It's a Glock Model 45. So all the deputies currently are carrying those. Public safety building update, I'll give that under the town administrative report. The only other thing of real importance I wanted to share with the council tonight out of the Police Commission meeting is that currently I am in negotiations with the Duneland Beach Association and the town of Michiana Shores to continue the police service contracts with both of them. Right now, we're under a 3-year police service contract where we serve as their police department for those two communities as well. The leadership in both of those communities have asked that we continue with another 3-year contract. So we're negotiating that 3-year contract. It'll come before the council in the month of November, at the latest the month of December. There will be an increase to that contract, a minimum of 3% or more. The town of Michiana Shores will be paying an additional increase because they receive LIT funds, the local income tax, similar to what the town of Long Beach receives. Duneland Beach, however, does not receive the LIT tax, so therefore we will not be increasing their contract as much as what we will be doing with Michiana. And then the calls for service in Michiana are sometimes higher as well. On the town administrator side, leaf pickup dates have been determined. The fall leaf collection will begin on Wednesday, November 1st. It will conclude on December 3rd. So December 3rd will be your last day to rake your leaves out to the edge of the roadway. No sticks, pumpkins, large items, because those will damage our equipment. We will be posting these dates on the town bulletin board and on the town's website as well.
the 3rd's a Sunday.
Yes, that'll be the last day that you can have them out to the edge of the road.
Okay, and then
they'll pick them
Come
up
through
beginning
Monday?
December 4th,
Okay.
yes. We just want everybody on Sunday, December 3rd. That's the last day we're giving you the opportunity to put them out to the edge of the roadway. And then the week of the 4th, the teams will be out collecting them. Recent weeks, we have been receiving calls. The LaPorte County Election Board has called and asked to park the mobile voting van at the Long Beach Community Center. That was approved and will be on October 13th and October 20th from 9 a.m. till noon. Residents can go to the community center and can vote from the mobile voting van. Representatives from both the Republican and Democratic Party will be present. And during the month of October, this van will be traveling all of LaPorte County to all the various communities. The League of Women Voters has reached out. They are hosting a candidates night on October 18th at 6:30 p.m. in the community center. Everybody's encouraged to attend that. Recent weeks, we've received questions about political signs. When can they be put out in the town? What are some of the limitations on the political signs? I would refer to a brochure that we have from the Indiana Election Division. There's an actual brochure that covers political signs, the do's, the don'ts, all the disclaimer information that you're supposed to have on the bottom of your sign and that. I've put a pile of them at the end of the table if anybody would like to help themselves to that tonight. The town will also have them available at the clerk's office if anybody would like information on that as well. Our street department F-550 truck that you approved the new salt box and the new plow for is currently at the fleet management shop. Should be back sometime this week and ready for the approaching snow in the next month or two. Public safety building, I'll just give you a brief update. I believe Councilman Wall may also share some information. Each day I spend quite a bit of my time engaged with the superintendent, Joe Core, with Holiday Construction, assisting with questions and as that project is ongoing, to include keeping our neighbors updated as well. The carpenters have completed the wall construction where the stone will be installed. So anywhere on the new building where you see the white Tyvek and the wood that's on the building, that is where the stone will be on the building. So if you're to look at it tomorrow, any of those areas that are currently covered with that white Tyvek, that's where the stone will be on the new construction. The carpenters continue to work on installing the insulation and will be putting the metal roofing on the building over the next 2 weeks. The masonry crews were present today. They have started the work on forming up the sidewalks and the curbs in preparation for the concrete pours and putting in all the asphalt driveways that will be installed in the next several weeks before the asphalt plants close in November. Today they began the sanitary sewer line, extending the sanitary sewer line from the new building south to the lawn near the current septic of the town hall. This does not mean that we have a septic permit or we're tying into the septic. What this means is that we are extending the sewer line for the eventual connection to a septic system once approved by the State Board of Health. Currently, our pre-application has been submitted by Soil Solutions to the State of Indiana Health Department. The soil samplings that we discussed at last month's meeting came in at $1,400. The council approved that expenditure. And then moving on to trick or treat and trunk or treat will be Tuesday, October 31st from 5 to 7 at the community center for the trunk or treat, and then the community-wide trick or treat will be on October 31st from 5 to 7. So turn on your porch lights, front lights. Last thing I have is the website update. As you are aware, Civic Plus, which is our website provider, is doing a mandatory update on all websites that they manage. Our website will be getting updated the fourth quarter of this year, if not the latest, the first quarter of 2024. We want to put some new content on the website. We also want to have a portal on the website allowing residents to sign up for newsletters, email alerts, road closures, other important information. Our goal is to be more communication sharing on the website, and this can all be accomplished once we do the update here in the following months. That's all I have unless there's any questions.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions? Okay, Tom?
Good evening. For the month of September, the Long Beach Fire Department responded to 14 calls, 9 on the fire side, 5 on the medical side. Year-to-date fire calls, we have responded to 59 fire calls versus 39 a year ago. We're running 34% higher on fire calls this year. Our average response time on fire calls is 4.5 minutes. On the medical side, we've responded to 74 medical calls this year versus 72 a year ago, so we're running about the same on medical calls. Our response time on medical calls is about 4.2 minutes. All told, we have responded to 133 calls this year versus 111 a year ago, so we're running about 18% higher than we were a year ago across fire and medical. Couple things to update. We have just made a recent purchase with our fundraising dollars to purchase an electric vehicle blanket. With the prevalence of electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles throughout not only our community, but all over, the fire service around the world has been trying to figure out how to deal with electric fires. You can put water on lithium batteries and the fire will not go out. So we have invested in a blanket system, which a lot of fire departments are starting to do, which basically smothers an electric vehicle and will keep the fire at bay and will keep exposures from burning. So we have one of those that's now in service on our truck. And knock on wood, we haven't had an electric vehicle fire yet, but every day I see more and more electric vehicles on the road, and it seems to be where we're going. And there's not a lot of knowledge yet about controlling fires with electric vehicles. So now that we're working on that. So
What's it made of? What's the blanket made of?
that's a great question. I was doing some research on it. It's a lot of different chemical types.
Is it reusable then?
The one that we bought is not a reusable. They have reusable ones that are pretty expensive.
Okay.
We went with the one-time use because our research has shown that if we do the one-time use, the follow-on one, I believe, in insurance will pick up the cost of the next one. So that's what our research tells us. We want to kind of try before we buy too much, because the technology continues to expand on the research around electric vehicle fires. It's not just total EVs, but it's hybrids as well. So, and I believe Michiana Shores also has invested in an EV blanket as well. So. Regarding our engine 2, just highlight, as you know, our engine 2 is 20 years old. It's actually our younger fire truck. We have experienced some rust damage recently, I think due to all the salt on the roads over the past 20 years. Our gas tank has 2 straps that have failed that hold the gas tank. We now have temporary straps if we've ordered new metal straps to secure the gas tank, but just know that 20 years of driving the streets around here with a lot of salt has taken some toll on a 20-year-old truck. So the truck is in service. It's fine. We have temporary straps on it and we've ordered new ones, but it will be going out of service once those straps go in for about a day. Mark, you mentioned the trunk or treat. Long Beach Fire Department will be attending and supporting that event on Halloween.
And it'll be at the community center?
I believe it'll be at the community center.
Yes.
This month is National Fire Safety Month. Every year, the Long Beach Fire Department goes to Notre Dame Grade School. We'll be back again this Friday at Notre Dame Grade School with the preschoolers doing fire safety. We've done this probably for the last 30 years or more, and so we'll be back in full force with the youngsters at Notre Dame Grade School. A few things on training. We just launched our next version of Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2 training. This is the training that all professional firefighters take. All the members of Long Beach Fire Department attain Firefighter 1, 2. We've just launched a new class for 7 of our newest members. This is a pretty long process. It's a combination of classroom, online training, as well as a lot of practical stuff. When I did my Firefighter 1, 2 training, it took over a year to complete that. We're hoping to accelerate that a little bit because Indiana has changed it to an online program for a lot of the classroom, but we'll be getting our newest 7 members completed on that course over the next 8 to 10 months is our goal. Those folks, those new 7 members, are already done their mandatory training, so they're eligible on fire scenes doing things, but to get the true Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, which we want all of our members to have, that is underway. So we've also invited Michiana Shores to participate in that training, and they're looking to probably bring a few of their new members in as well. You may have seen pictures last week. We dropped about 2,000 feet of hose out on the Chown Garage streets to do our annual hose test. We basically fill those hoses up at a maximum pressure for more than 5 or so minutes and make sure that nothing busts. You'd be happy to know all of our fire hoses pass the test. Tonight we're doing carbon monoxide and tick training, which is thermal imaging camera training, and I think that's all I've got. There was no fire commission meeting last month, so on your agenda. Any questions?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, John? John?
Yeah, yes?
Sorry to interrupt. I thought you were going to have opening remarks right after your pledge, so I missed this. But there are 3 items that might be on the agenda if possible. The CCMG text, I just want to see if the clerk's office has some additional information for us they can do. wait the time the checks get that, filled out paperwork that we can complete. The other issue with the fire truck ordinance, I think I sent something out to Trista Hudson, Senator, sent out a draft of the fire truck base ordinance for the new truck that we ordered earlier in the year, and we want to try to get that on first reading tonight in May before we do the fire on that. And last but not least, we had approved the water service contract with Woodruff for the lakefront water services, but he has not seen the paperwork yet, so I read over the clerk's office, and I also read over House. We need to make sure that it's out as soon as possible to get that contract approved.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Tom. Public Works was no meeting, correct?
No meeting, we meet on the fourth Monday, so we'll meet October 23rd.
Okay, Joy on the Park Board?
Good evening, everyone. Park Board met on 9/26. Most of the pertinent discussion was regarding the ADA Emergency Access Project to Stop 15. The pre-grant proposal was submitted by Global Engineering last Friday, and we will be notified on 10/18 by the end of the day if we've been invited to submit a full grant proposal, which is due in January of 2024. We did look at a couple of products, and I think Deanna made you guys a copy of this. This is the product we chose, which is a wooden one. I'll pass this around for everybody to look at. It's pretty low profile. We looked at a concrete option, which was really expensive. This was about half the cost. And if anybody would like to see this in the field, this is what they have at St. Anthony Hospital. Yeah, that walks through the wetlands. So it's really nice out there.
How wide is that?
7 feet, because it's that wide, so the town's ATVs could get down for emergency access.
Does it come up in the winter then?
No, it remains there. It's attached to metal underneath.
So it's not like Stop 16?
No. It will be permanent. It's more maintenance than the concrete, but the cost was really cost prohibitive on the concrete. Any questions? That was it for the Park Board. And the Community Center met on 10/2. We discussed some plumbing issues that we'll be contacting Poston to look at. We discussed the budget, which included the possibility of raising tenants' rent for 2024, but that decision has not been made yet. We discussed the community center calendar, and there was a lot of discussion about the unisex bathrooms in the back of the building. At the request of a tenant whose space is adjacent to the bathroom doors, she asked that we could keep the doors closed because she didn't like her clients having to come in and stare at the bathrooms all the time. So they will now be closed, but all tenants and the Y will have a key. So if anybody needs to use them, they can get a key from the Y or...
Doesn't the one sign say don't close the door?
It did. Now there's new signs up there.
So they're locked?
They'll be locked all the time, yes. That's the option we have right now. We could change the locks
Okay.
on the doors if that becomes necessary. Any questions? That was it?
No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Budget and Finance is Clerk Perry on or John Wall?
I can report for you, John.
Okay.
We met on October 6th. We reviewed the 22 financial statements, which are complete and accurate with the help of Trista from Center. And first off, we have the revenue expenses, gas positions, and many adjustments that were made well in and out of the comfortable. We have accurate information from 2022. We also reviewed 2023 through the June statements, so we have all those numbers as well. We ran through some unfinished business. Basically, we're in pretty good shape on the items on the agenda, cash management, CCNG. We spent quite a bit of time on the budget, which I see Trish is in attendance. We hope to do the second reading on the budget effectively with the announcement of the January the agenda items. So we spent quite a bit of time tweaking the budget. We also had a budget work working meeting prior to our regular scheduled budget planning meeting, which was spent quite a bit of time again on adjusting the budget so that when submitted after the second reading, that essentially you're looking at during the TV and talk a little bit about cash reserve for 2024 and the capital plan. Mike want to indulge us at all, but essentially the capital plan will be talked about in a little more detail after the town adopts this ordinance that does the second reading this evening, and we will adjust the capital plan accordingly at our next budget finance committee meeting and in fact the council in November meeting proposal for the capital plan and cash reserve support. That's essentially all I had, unless Mike wants to approach it at all.
No, nothing to add. You covered it, John. Thanks.
Human Resources, Mary Lou?
I have nothing to well, we're working on the salary ordinance, but other than that, I have nothing to report.
Okay, Tree Board, Ellen? Yep.
Ellen Lynch, the tree board. On September 20, let's see, you all received CJ Dempsey's email that was given to everybody on September 26, covering the continued attempts to eliminate the possibility of children and adults and property damage due to the cottonwood trees next to his property. A copy of the email was forwarded to me on the 30th with the request that our tree board weigh in on this matter. This is me weighing in. So we are aware the Parks Board had worked on this matter. So earlier this week, I contacted them, reached out to them and learned what they had on file. Parks Board's provided the information which showed that over the last 5 years, they have diligently invested their time and money to try to best remedy this situation, paying CA arborists in 2018 to evaluate, inspect, and repair the trees. So this has been occurring since 2018, trying to keep these trees up. In 2022, at the request of the Parks Board, CNA went back and inspected everything and said everything was good, but they also had a disclaimer at the end of that that said that we do not claim, nor would we ever imply any responsibility for the safety of the trees. Inspection of your trees only determine relative condition at the time of inspection. So this past June, after a related limb falling event, the village had sent CA out again. In between all that, Mr. Dempsey had been looking for different solutions, talking to his neighbors, reaching out to the National Parks Board. Anyway, he came upon the Tree Man Company, which personally I highly recommend. It's a superb company for these kinds of things. The Tree Man Company was then contacted by the homeowner, and he had him come out and had them come out and do an inspection, which he paid for the whole report. So, and Tree Man, and in they recommended the removal of the 2 trees, stating remove the 2 trees that could impact the back deck when limbs fall, and adding that people on the deck could be injured or killed if these limbs fell. And in the pit, so after all this, the tree board, we met on Wednesday, and we know many people have invested greatly in trying to remedy the potential risk of human life. The trees need to come down. So that would be the recommendation that the tree man put, and we agree with it. He also, when he was out there, he noted, looked at other trees and did some hammer tests and stuff like that, and they sounded hollow, and he said he felt that they should be that he should come back and do a drill test to see if they are alive or dead, I suppose. So, and he also said for the trees overhanging the house, he also recommended replacing what CNA arborists had put in, because they were fabric things that he put in for the, and he recommended that steel cables be put in, reducing the length and reducing the length of several limbs so that they are less likely to fall. The reason that he recommended that for the trees next to the house is that if these limbs still fall in the future, it is unlikely that some would cause any injury, because the house would be able to take the impact of anything that would fall. But obviously from the report, he said whoever did it before wasn't able to get high enough to get the tree limbs that are way out there, and he just said that all has to be taken down. So he wants to trim all that up so none of those fall onto the house that are up higher, so. Anyway, and I learned more about the cottonwood than I ever thought I would learn. It is a valuable tree. This tree grows 6 feet a year. It takes in 50 to 200 gallons of water in its system per day. It is the reason that it keeps our dunes stabilized, and it allows dune grass and everything else to grow. So it is kind of an important tree, even though it might have limb drop. It is a very important tree. So we also agree with the tree man about doing the drill test and doing the limbs and replacing that harness. So everything is, in tip-top shape over at Stop 16. So, any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I believe that the tree issue it comes up a little later in the agenda under new business, so we'll probably address it again for a short time. Next item, a building commission, also the BZA and Advisory Plan Commission, Bob LeMay.
Yeah, I know minutes for the 9/18 meeting. I'm not quite sure what happened to those from the building commission. But we'll check on that, make sure we get it and report that at the next meeting. Advisory board of zoning appeals, that's on September the 12th. And they considered a couple of properties. One was Randall and Adrian Hall at 23 Portland Avenue. They were seeking to increase the non-conforming structure within a setback, adding an elevator shaft to the setback. They also want to increase volume that will be considered at the next meeting. Preliminary hearing is set to be open at the September 12th meeting. Other property was Cameron Weaver and Lori Schumacher, 1612 Indianapolis Avenue. Petition there seeking to increase the non-conformance of the structure built in the setback, adding a walking there to the setback. The interesting thing about this was they went ahead and built it without permission. There's a lawsuit pending. However, in an effort to try and get that resolved, it was sent to the BZA. Fine was agreed to and is being held by their attorney in an account. And that is also set for public hearing. And then finally, Michael and Catherine Lee, 2801 Brentwood Way. They want to enclose an existing deck to make a screened portion of the non-conforming lot. They requested a continuance. And the next meeting will be tomorrow evening of the Board of Zoning Appeals. The APC met on 8/21 of 23. Basically, all we did at that meeting was to give an address of 2520 Shorewood to the Captain's Walk property, and an address of 2926 Royal Trail was assigned to the lot between 2922 and 2939 Royal Trail. And then just before this meeting tonight, we had a meeting. I'll read APC. The building commission asked APC to weigh in on whether or not Captain's Walk property conformed with the comprehensive plan, and the decision by the APC was that the project did in fact comply with the comprehensive plan. Their next meeting will be on 11/20. That's it for those.
Any questions, Bob? Okay, next item, building permit report. Who's going to do that? Deanna? All right. There.
For the month of September, the Building Commission issued 20 permits totaling $546,766 and brought in revenue of $6,084. 9 electric permits were issued totaling $1,224, and 4 street cut permits through the Street Commission issued with $400 in revenue. Legal expenses paid in September totaled $9,275.25. Of that, $6,643.25 was paid to Brazy, Nelson, and Janes. $2,105 paid to Barnes and Thornburg, and $527 paid to Knight, Hoppy, Kernick, and Knight.
Thank you. Any questions on that?
I'd like some explanation on that Lars and Thornburg. I looked at the check register, I see a check for $871 and $363 paid this month. Yet here it seems to say Lars and Thornburg got $2,105 this month. I want to know what the year-to-date total is on that. Also would like to know what that was for. My understanding is that's the attorney used by our treasurer for his legal expenses, and I know that's limited to $5,000. I'd like to know what the cumulative amount spent this year is on that. So Deanna, could you get that information for us and share it with the council?
Yes, for this evening or for the next month?
No, I'd like to have it this week if I could.
Oh, this week, okay, not right now. Okay.
No, I don't think you're going to be able to get it right now.
Well,
If you have it, that'd be great.
I have to go look at it.
Tell him, get the microphone. Okay, any other questions? Do we want to address a couple of John's add-ons, the CCMG checks? Have those been cut, Deanna, on the John Wall?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm hoping the clerk's office and like, if it hasn't been done, we just need to work on it. I think Ian and I had a little conversation earlier this week. If we're working on it, that's fine, we just don't want to lose track. There's a bit of a refund that goes back to NDOT, and then there's also the final check that went to the contractor Milestone. We just have to make sure those check copies get over to Haas so that he can submit the final documentation to CCMG. I just don't want to lose sight of it.
The last check was mailed out to Milestone North. We're waiting for the return check through the bank, and then Laura will get the copy. But the last check had been sent out.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, we're just waiting on it to get returned. Go ahead.
Okay, and as far as the water service contract, I don't know, I mean, typically the engineer will be involved in that process, but I think we probably need to make sure we're initiating that, our contract. So we need to contact us and make sure that they're pushing that document out. I think Mark may have sent an email out saying we're not sure that we just don't want to lose track of that, we approve it, we want to make sure that the contract is home.
John, I went ahead and emailed Ryan Laughlin at Haas. I'm waiting for Ryan's reply, and when I get a reply, I'll share it with Deanna in the clerk's office, so everybody is copied in it. Hope to hear from them in the next day or two.
As far as the fire truck ordinance, John, it used to be like maybe, I thought you had a copy, it looks like you may not have seen that yet.
I haven't seen it.
Sure you set it up, you have not, Mike?
No,
Sorry.
no.
Yeah, so if you have not seen it, I don't know if you have to make copies this evening or not, or if we want to bring this up in November meeting, we just don't want to wait over the meeting.
For what?
Essentially, Trish has submitted a draft ordinance for the fire truck lease for that new truck we purchased. And Chris, I think, will look at it, it's okay, we just need to get it in form approved.
Can you get that to us for the next meeting?
What is it that you're asking for?
Apparently a lease, an ordinance for the new fire truck?
I need to see ordinance.
Okay.
Okay.
No. All right, we'll have that. Unfinished business now, we got stop 17 and 18 bid review and recommendation of Haas.
So, may I address that now?
Yes.
So essentially, the stop 17 AD bids came in, if you recall, there were, the contractors that bid the project, depending on which alternate we take, Woodward was low, we take, base bid plus the first and second alternate at $445.95. If you take only the base bid and one alternate, the first alternate, then HG would go at $388. So the differential is $127,000. What that essentially means is if you don't do alternate 3, alternate 2, which is a third of the number that was then The 127 is for what we call a swirl structure in our efforts to be as proactive as we can in our environmental, the way we treat our stormwater. The swirl structure basically takes solids and hydrocarbons, so the other things are in service with stormwater, streets, and essentially retreats it before it gets to the other driveway downstream and goes into a place. So my recommendation would be that we try to do the entire project for the 445. I would tell you that we were basically, if you look at all three numbers, the engineer's recommendation stated that all the numbers essentially were in the neighborhood of 20% below their estimates, which is pretty fantastic. You know, in the era we were in a few months back or a year or two ago, the supply commission was holding numbers up. And right now it seems like they're really want a little bit, and the contractors are bring up these pretty decent numbers. So, revolving around that, we also would like to present or offer to the council for a suggestion of doing a workshop. I know there's some consternation and some of the people that down there, we want to try to explain the project a little better. What I'd like to do, we have one time frame issue, and that's a 60-day hold on the bids. We can't, if we want to, you know, take one of these bids and proceed, we need to go with a 60-day hold period. Otherwise,
When's the 60 days up, John? When is the 60 days?
I can give you the exact number, John. We're only about, we're not even 20 yet.
Okay.
We've got another 45 days or so to.
All right.
You know, whatever we want to do. I mean, we could approve it tonight if you're so inclined, or if we want to do this workshop session, I would suggest keep the time frame reasonable. I'm out of town until the 17th. I'll be back that morning. I'd like to present or ask your approval for maybe the 17th of October, Tuesday. We could do a workshop. That gives, that's about a week notice, everybody needs to know.
Yeah, I'd like to do it on the 19th. I can't do it on the 17th. That's a Thursday.
Okay, well, it's not, yeah, it's not necessarily that everybody's there. I guess the point is.
Well, I think,
Well, I'd like to be there.
I'd like to be there.
Okay, well, if you want to talk about another date, that's fine.
Does the 19 work?
Not for me. I'll be out of town.
Well, two of us will be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I would suggest the middle of 10-19, can we make sure that us associates can be there also to explain to us exactly what each component of the job is going to get us and what the disadvantage would be to doing just some and not all?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. And what, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock?
I would suggest the evening meeting, but, you know,
Whatever.
if you want the public to have, if you want the public to have an opportunity to,
Yeah, that'd be fine too. 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock on the 19th, I'll check it out and make sure that's okay. I'll let you all.
It's a special meeting.
Well, I'll confirm you. So you're suggesting the 19th at,
Yes.
okay. The only other issue I wanted to address with the council this evening in terms of approving this expenditure, you know, we wanted to use stormwater fund. Tristan can help me with this. I believe right now at the end of 23, we'll probably have somewhere maybe like 200,000 in that fund. Maybe slightly more than that. And this project, if you were to decide to go with the whole shoot match, would be about 445 again. So by the time the end of the year is rolled up, we would have, more than enough to be able to afford the whole project. The other thing is, it may not start until well into 2024, which would afford us the opportunity with that a half year additional funding in total. So I think between those two pieces of information, I think it is supportable. So anyway, we'll put together those audits when we show the 19th. The only thing that can complicate that would be whether or not it's
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? John, who's going to give the public safety building update? John, are you going?
We already did.
You already do that? Are you going to add to anything?
No, I think Mark did a fantastic job. I think they're over on quite well.
Okay. A second reading of the 2024 budget. Trista, do you have any comments on that? And we have any public input on it?
You certainly may allow public to speak if you'd like. The
legal time that it is mandatory is the first reading, which was a few weeks back, but you absolutely can allow public to speak again. There's no reason that you can't.
Right.
Mr. Wall already has stated that the Budget Finance Committee and workshop worked through a lot of numbers. The Budget and Finance Committee as a total then also did. I mentioned at the previous meeting during the first hearing that the budget is always advertised a little bit high so that the committee can go through and try to narrow down to where the important pieces of the budget are. They did work through that. At this point, the general fund is a little bit higher for expenditures than the revenue that I have anticipated for the town. However, we do always anticipate revenue for you, predict it a little bit conservatively, so that there is some room for growth there and to help control spending. Also not to overpromise, so that you don't count on too much money coming in that somehow maybe there's a year slightly off or something. So for the general fund specifically right now, it is budgeted a little bit high. I do think the revenue, though, in reality will come very close to it. And in assisting that prediction, annualizing the revenue that you have so far for 2023 into a full year, you would come almost right in line with the number that you have advertised for next year's budget. So coupled with the fact that department heads have always traditionally underspent the budget in total, I'm comfortable in suggesting that this would be a doable budget for you, and am comfortable recommending that you vote to approve it. Some of the other funds involved, and there are 15 that the town advertises through the Gateway portal, through the Department of Local Government Finance. Budget Finance Committee has gone through all of them. Some, the one relates to debt service, of course, the prior existing general obligation bond. Includes a community service, building, local road and street, motor vehicle highway, the Parks and Rec budget, CCD, which is a capital development budget. 5 of them are supported by property taxes, at least in part. And so all of those levies, those property taxes, in total combined to your tax rate that the taxpayers will pay. It is predicted a little bit high at the moment as well, because the budgets that we give to the Department of Local Government and Finance to approve have an AV that's advertised a little bit low, so that if there were some kind of appeal and because the assessed values are not yet settled by the state, we want to make sure there's room for that to settle out. And so even though the rate is listed here on the ordinance, fully expect that the rate actually paid will be a little bit less once the Department of Local Government Finance balances out the actual AV that will be certified at the end of the year.
Yeah, we have to basically advertise a little high, correct? Because the state usually always cuts. In many cases, they cut.
In the settling process, right. There is nothing about this budget at all that I think they will disapprove of.
Okay.
So I don't want, in my mind, when we say cut, it's because we did something wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case. I do expect that they will approve all of the budgeted items that you have asked for. There is a little bit of American Rescue Plan money left yet to be used where appropriate. And of course, this is going to be the second full year of the local income tax, which was passed by LaPorte County, assigned to your public safety. So that is in the budget as well, although it is not technically one of the quote advertised funds. It's in the budget and it's available online for people to review. Kind of a broad overview. Happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Just a quick one on 2023. What is our budget, our income, and our outgo? Did it come pretty well even, or are we in the hole, or are we on the plus side?
Right.
Always like to be on the plus side.
As to the general fund, the expenditures right now on actual expenditures versus actual revenue are $58,388 heavy, meaning more expenditure than revenue. However, as we look to the end of the year, the expenditures start to reduce. And I do predict as best I can without my crystal ball, predict that you will actually be $20,000 to the positive if revenues continue as we are expecting, and again, as expenditures reduce. That is not uncommon for a town, especially toward the end of the summertime, to be in that kind of a situation, because a lot of larger expenditures maybe related to the roads and streets, or some one-time expenditures occur over those summer months when a lot of activity is happening. Those do not continue to repeat through the end of the year.
Right.
And so that's often why that teeter-tottering happens.
Trista, could you take a moment out of Friday's meeting? We talked about the park department budget, and two of the park department board members are here. And just for the public's knowledge as well, talk about the improvements that they wanted to do for $140,000, the cut we made there, but then explain the cash reserves and how we would go about that if those projects were to move forward still.
Sure.
Just to kind of give a brief summarization.
So the Parks Department, as they know, but for some of the audience members not present, it was the first year that at least I'm aware of that the Budget and Finance Committee invited and requested each department head to come to a meeting and present their requests out of the budget, including both operational expenses on a daily basis over the course of the next year, and also larger capital type items, improvements and things. So upon doing that, the Parks Department submitted a budget request of $291,000. 140 of that were for 4 different capital projects. Joy probably can rattle them off in detail more specifically than I can, but it included some of the stops, some I don't know, improvements, if you want to call it that, with the tennis court. I recall
tennis court, Memorial Garden, and some papers and stuff.
Right, thank you. The bricks are with the Memorial Garden, right? And so the total of those were $140,000. The Parks and Rec budget is one that receives property taxes for part of their budget, a large majority of the budget. As well, then, of course, there is revenue coming in for some of the parks programs. Overall, historically, and then as well using the current numbers to predict for next year, it looks like the parks income on the property tax side will be about I'm sorry, let me pull up the actual number. Right, just about 165,000, 170,000. Parks revenue, though, that they have generated is 25,000 or so. So that gets us pretty close to 200,000 for revenue for next year. So that would be a 90,000 difference shortfall between expected revenue and then the budget request. There is some cash balance in the Parks Department fund specifically. And at the end of September, it was about 225,000. That, of course, is a rolling number. As expenses happen, of course, the cash goes down. As revenue comes in, it can go back up again. So the concern was that 90,000 was a large chunk to dip into the existing cash balance. The Budget Finance Committee discussed that. The property taxes cannot change. The individual revenue, miscellaneous revenues, could increase potentially, and came into a moderate position, I suppose I would call it, of approving the budget for $230,000. Essentially saying, let's reserve $80,000 for those capital improvements on the list, and not immediately approving the other $60,000 to dip into the cash. It's important to keep a cash balance in a fund, as you can imagine, just like you would for your own home finances, have a rainy day savings account for emergencies that happen. And so to advise to dip into that by 90,000, which is getting close to almost half, would be pretty drastic. So at this point, the budget that is listed is the 230. That leaves a solid 2 of the 4 capital projects readily available. If in conversations during the year next year, the Parks Board decides that they really want to attack those other 2 projects and they're very important, and we take a look at the revenue, verify that property taxes are looking well, that the miscellaneous revenue is coming in as predicted, there's always the opportunity to add those projects in with an additional appropriation as well. There's legal steps for that. And so it's not the council saying, and maybe I'm speaking too far on all of this on behalf of you, but it's not saying those projects can't be done. It's just trying to find a nice level way, again, to keep some emergency cash in the background and plan for the future. So I don't know if there's more information, if that was too much, but that was the discussion during the...
It was, and I appreciate that, because that was one of the discussions that we had last year, that we want to be sharing more information with all the department heads, with the commissions and the boards, like the community center and that, seeking their input, making improvements, utilizing tax dollars, the revenue that's coming in, and staying within our budgets and that. So I think the cut was appropriate, and thank you for the explanation. So.
Any other questions of Trista or anyone?
I would say that if we're going to be making a decision on the second reading, the one element that's further on down in the agenda is recommendations by the Human Resource Committee about compensation for merits. And so we have a certain assumption right now in our current. And so if we approve this, it's going to be subject to what we decide on salaries, right?
Yes.
And I'm not sure how to address that, Counselor, but...
Based on what the chief has told me, that the state's come back, that we're looking at a 3% increase for the employees.
Okay, so that's consistent with what we have in the budget so far.
And that's...
All right. Thank you.
We looked at it both ways. We looked at what a 3%, we looked at what a 5%, and it doesn't look like we can support the 5%, so...
Thank you. That's what that answers the question. Thank you.
And I think, Trista, the worksheets you provided us on Friday had the 5% and the 3%, but the budget in front of the council tonight just has the 3% salary increase.
But I do have backup for it if you want to see any of that.
I do want to point out that the rules for electronic meetings do not allow the 2 members appearing electronically to participate in the vote for the budget. So it will need to be a unanimous vote if you decide to take final action. Only those present in person are allowed to vote on the budget.
So, do we hear a motion to approve the budget as submitted, unless anybody out there in the audience have any questions about it? Mary?
Hi, Mary O'Neill, 1532 Lakeshore Drive. I think this pertains to the budget. I sat through the meeting last Friday, and you're a very good explainer. And I didn't even have all the papers in front of me, but I could follow it along pretty well.
Thank you.
The one thing that came up was the 5-year capital plan and some of the budget fitting into that. And again, that's nothing that's on the website that would be good for the townspeople to be able to see that, because I know there was some discussion of now changing the capital plan next year to fit the different needs that they were discussing. So
right.
Just
if I may, the reason the capital plan is not presented tonight in paper for you all to see is it's not finished yet. We do expect in November to have that on paper publicly, and I presume, I know you're very robust in using your website, I would presume it will be available there. The reason I say that is that the budget includes operating items, payroll, those kinds of things, of course, supplies, and then items or lines reserved for capital. So we've looked at that. The wish list right now on the capital items that the town would love to do next year is still a little bit higher than the amount of revenues that we can reserve for just the capital. And so when I say it's not finished yet, they're wanting still the committee to go through and tweak and see what can be spent where and what can be reserved.
I misunderstood. Wasn't a capital plan put together a few years ago by the town?
It's done every year. It's an annual process. Okay. So the one that Trista is talking about right now is the 2024 capital plan.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
It does project for 5 years, but of course, as each year rolls,
We
new
approve
projects
it.
come up, different revenues, so.
Great. Again, it would be something nice to have on the website, so I hope when we get that upgrade, that there'll be lots more on there that we can actually access. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the audience?
Is there anybody on Zoom?
You have 34.
Oh, wow.
Anybody on Zoom? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the budget as submitted on second reading?
So moved.
Give it a second.
I second it.
Any discussion?
The three of us are the only ones that could.
Correct?
Okay.
No discussion? Heard the motion, moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, it passes 3-0. The next item is monthly and year-to-date accounting charges for the clerk's office. Is that something Bob has a question on, or Deanna, do you have, no?
Okay.
Bob?
We were supposed to have a report from the clerk treasurer's office, we don't have that, I guess. I saw that there's 13,000 something for the accounting charges for just last month.
Are you talking for Sender and Company?
Yes, I am. That's $13,943.
There was an invoice for $13,543.12.
It was for August, right?
That's for August.
I asked Senator Company to send the invoices for the last 3 years, from March 1st through August 31st. They were 2021, $13,693, 2022, $11,255, and this year it jumped $35,000, more than $35,000, to $46,684. Now that's a charge that we are all paying for. In addition, we're paying the clerk treasurer $36,400 for his salary to hire other people to do his job. So we paid $35,000 more this last year because our clerk isn't doing the job that Bill Lefuniak was doing. I pointed this out a few times before, and I'm pointing it out again, and I'll come back to it later in this meeting, but this is really distressing to me. And I hope that future clerk treasurers do not plan to model their clerk treasurer career on what Mr. Perry is doing to this town. That's all I have to say.
Now, the sender invoice I have goes through Bob, it goes through August, so I assume we're gonna have September, October, November, December.
Yeah, it's only gonna get worse.
Did you ask for it?
No, I got it, it's on, we got a copy of it on our information that Deanne sent.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go.
So the invoice that we had just for August that came was the $13,543.12. We did find in the clerk treasurer's emails from previous months that had not been printed because they don't come to me, another $28,159.75, which now brings a total due to Sender and Company currently $41,702.87 that hasn't been paid out yet.
Has not been paid?
Has not been paid out.
41,000?
Yes.
But Deanna, let me get this straight. In addition to these incredible increases for our accounting costs, our clerk treasurer failed to pay the accountant also?
I have an invoice that was pulled up today. We had Laurel research his emails, and there was an invoice for April that totals $543.75. There's an invoice that covers May, totaling $7,582. An invoice for June totaling $11,956.75. An invoice for July, $8,077.25. Those total the $28,159.75 on top of the invoice that we just received for August of $13,543.12. We owe sender at this moment $41,702.87. Not paid yet.
Trista, so you guys have been paid all year? I mean, you're working for free, in other words.
Well,
I mean, shouldn't have we been getting it done or something? I mean,
they certainly, invoices are sent on a monthly basis, and we do request that they be paid on a monthly basis. I am not the one that monitors any of that. I am simply here to assist you where needed. So I was not aware that they had not been paid yet, but we have learned that and followed. We do have some staff that follows, and there are some clients that sometimes do wait a little bit, and so, you know, we don't.
But I'm surprised Carl never said anything to us.
Well, right, and I don't know about that, but the only thing I will add is that we have finished now the look back through 2022. As we talked to the Budget and Finance Committee, we have finalized those bank reconciliations. We have finished up that annual accounting. We have also we've completed bank reconciliations through June and looked through all of those finances as well. Then July and August are begun. There are a few outstanding things that Laurel and I still want to finish for July and August. But with budget now drawing to the close and those large review projects finished, our time with the town will start to be greatly reduced going forward. Laurel is well positioned within the office now with the daily, weekly, and monthly responsibilities. Deanna has helped jump in and train her well as well with all of that. And so I am comfortable that our role will start to revert back more to simply advisory and assisting with questions and verifying the bank recs. So I don't expect the bills going forward to be to this nature in the future.
Another question I have is the 41,000 that you say haven't been paid yet.
Right.
Is that in the budget somehow to pay it?
Oh.
That's what I was going to bring up, is that while we have Trista here this evening, we know that in our 2023 budget, we do not have contractual service funding that'll cover those expenditures. So with your assistance tonight, could you give the council some direction on where we should make those appropriations from to cover those expenditures? Will that require an additional appropriation? Because we obviously want to pay the outstanding invoices, and I will say that your assistance is greatly appreciated and you are a true pleasure to work with daily. So this is nothing against you or the firm. It's just we have to pay the bills, unfortunately, and we probably need some assistance from you tonight to give the council direction where we should pay these from.
Sure. I will certainly look as best I can while you all are working on the rest of the meeting. If I can give a good solid answer on that, I will. Although as with any other answer, I want to make sure that we don't just rush and jump the gun either, but I'll do my best to look while we're still here. We do have in the budget, which is planned for every year, some accounting, as you know, as well as legal services included. And so I do hope that what we budgeted for next year will be adequate going forward across a few of the different places that can be paid from.
I'm just glad that Deanna and Laurel are looking at the clerk's emails since he seems to be MIA. I would also hope that next year the clerk treasurer will in fact assume some of these accounting roles. Maybe we could hire somebody who understands accounting and takes the job seriously. Just to hope.
So right now, I just want to tell you though that then when it said that we owe them $41,702 right now, the year to date, with these that we will pay, the year to date that we will have paid then, Sender and Company, will be $54,251 to date, after these are paid.
And Trista, if there's any action taken, we can also add it to the contemplated special meeting that's going to be had to discuss the water project or the Stop 18. So not to put you under the gun tonight, if you can't find that resolution, we can just add it.
For the 19th.
Hey, Chris, before you leave that subject, are we calling this 19B more than a workshop? We can call it a special meeting then?
Well, you're all going to be there anyway, right? And you may be positioned to make a decision as well. So I always recommend that you have that so that there's proper notice out there as well. I mean, you can discuss it, but it'll put you in a position to make decisions if you'd like as well.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't want to call it a workshop. I have that meeting. We'll call it a special meeting. That's where it is.
Okay, moving on, next item is the tree ordinance. Are we tabling that for this meeting again?
The only real change is that we added, and it's been discussed, and Ellen and I discussed before this meeting, was adding the penalty section. There was a reference to a section in the code that doesn't apply, and if you may or may not recall earlier in the year, especially through the ordinances with building commission, we streamlined those. So what I would suggest is that you, if you'd like, so because you're getting to the end of the year, if you don't suspend rules and you don't consider them unanimously, you might run out of time for some of these that you want to get in. So I would suggest you at least pass it on first reading, and then you can still have some ability to make changes. But the only change to the draft that was originally submitted was the addition of the penalty section language, because there was just a reference to a code section before.
So I would make a motion to pass ordinance number 2023-04 on first reading.
Is it 04, Deanna?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? To pass ordinance 2023-04 on first reading. All in favor?
Roll call.
All roll call, I'm sorry. Mary Lou?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Coker, aye. Dr. Lemay?
Aye.
John Wall?
Aye.
All right, passes.
Make a motion to suspend the rules and pass it on second reading tonight.
Heard the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for a vote. Mary Lou?
Aye.
Coker, aye. Johnstone?
Aye.
Wall?
Aye.
Lemay?
Aye.
Passes.
Deanna, I'll send you the clean version of that.
Okay.
I want to table the next one.
Okay, the next ordinance proposal is amending and restating section of the code regarding garbage and refuse removal. Mary Lou, have a suggestion?
I'd like to revisit at the November meeting.
Want to table it?
Yes.
Anybody object to that?
Why are we tabling?
I'd like to have time to look at it again.
You haven't looked at it.
I said it.
Okay, it's going to be tabled till the next meeting. MS4 ordinance. Carryover. Got a Chris?
Yes, that'll be ready for November, and hopefully we might have the rest. We won't stress Larry out, but we definitely need to try to get that approved.
Mike?
We'll try to get it approved by the end of the year.
So it'll be ready for November.
So that'll be carried over to the November meeting. The next item is discussion on the building commissioner. Who wants to take the lead on that, Mike?
Yeah, I would make a proposal that, that we further our contract with the building commissioner for a one-year term, that current verbal agreement be formalized in writing and finished before the end of the year and approved before the end of the year. And I would be willing to take point for the town council, working with Councilor Willoughby to finalize that contract. That'd be my proposal.
So we went to the building commissioner, told them we needed a contract, and gave them two options. One would be a contract employee contract, and the other would be a well as his request for equivalent for $40 or $75 an hour to be a contract employee. Is that what you're saying, Mike?
Actually, I'm saying that we would continue at the $35 rate on the employee contract.
I believe he's already told us that's not acceptable to him.
I understand that, but we're in an we're in an oral contract today. I'm not sure what the expiration date of that is. Do you know, Counselor?
I believe he's serving at will. He can quit when he wants.
Well, as discussed, there was going to be a decision tonight of which direction, which I know you're proposing a direction, which is as a contractor versus an employee of the town.
Yes.
Mr. Wall is here, and not to put him on the spot, part of that is both sides. You're making a proposal, and it's up to him to decide if he wants to move forward after that.
That's correct.
Well, will this be negotiated a little more, or just take it or leave it, or what are we doing here?
Well,
I mean, I don't want to negotiate it in public, but
Well, that's where it's got to be. I mean,
well, I mean, final decision will be in public, obviously, but I mean, are we talking about the personnel matter? I don't know. I'm suggestions, direction.
Well, again, I think once the document is in place, the proposed document's in place, they'll be brought back to the town council. And in between that and now would be discussions with the building commissioner about the terms that we're proposing. There'd be a back and forth discussion at that level. And then we would bring it back in its final state prior to year end. That's my recommendation.
well, I can have a draft ready by the special meeting that's contemplated, so I know you're not.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there for that.
I know you're not available at that, but perhaps the terms of it so it can be discussed and continue to move along, so I'll be able to work with you if it works out with your timing.
That's fine.
So is that the direction we're gonna go? Mary Lou?
Sure. Yes, you need a motion?
I would think we,
Okay.
yeah, we gotta know, we gotta make sure the train's going down the track here and not, So Mike and Chris are gonna get together with the building commissioner and make a proposed draft, and then you'll go back and forth on that?
Well, before we go too far, we'll confirm whether those two base, the year term, the hourly rate work, and if they don't, then there's
No point.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's what'll be done.
Okay, moving right along.
Next item, new business, stop 16 trees again. I think we've had a very good discussion with the tree president. Has another comment. Come on up here, Ellen.
When Mr. Dempsey had...
Wait till you get to the microphone.
When Mr. Dempsey had this done and he paid, I don't think he's paid for it, on the contract that, or his tree man said that we had 45 days to accept it or decline it when we're past the 45 days. So that's another thing that we have on there. I can call and see if he would agree.
Yeah, the problem is we don't have any money left in our tree budget.
Okay, yeah.
That's one other problem.
Okay.
How much is it?
He just came out and gave consultation. I have no idea what it costs, but
That's all right.
it would probably be about what you spend on 20 trees being taken down. I mean, he really has to go up high for some of this stuff, but
And they're
it
big
isn't
trees.
something we can ignore, though, I don't think, because I think we could go, why don't I I'll call and ask him about extending it and asking us to give maybe a guesstimate, ballpark, something like
An
that.
estimate on cost, or a contract on cost.
Hmm?
Or a contract on cost. I mean, he could give a contract of what he'd charge to take down the trees.
Yeah, and maybe see if he'll put it in writing, so in case at the special meeting, we could...
Okay, I'll ask him to write it up and maybe have it in a couple parts. You know, the drilling maybe could be done right away if those trees are dead. before having him come out and do the cotton, the ones that he is gonna take down. I don't know.
Thank you.
It's,
Okay.
you guys get to do all that.
Okay, we have the next item, Knight Hop and Correct and Knight Attorneys invoice for $440 approved for payment. Do we hear a motion to approve that?
I make that motion.
Second? Anybody?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the $440 invoice. Any discussion?
Do you have to do a roll call?
Mary Lou?
Aye.
Coker, aye. Johnstone?
Aye.
Lemay? And John Wall?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. Next item, Holiday Construction, invoice number 6, approved for payment on the new station, on the new building, payment of $250,418.50.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Made by Mary Lou, seconded by Mike Johnstone. Any discussion on that?
Can we get a year-to-date on what we've spent so far?
It's on there,
It's on there.
on the documents
Okay.
that we've got that shows in there. It's roughly about 33%. Does that sound about right, John Wall? 33% spent and about 67% yet to build. So we're about even with, we're,
Everyone that you're aware of, we brought this up a couple meetings ago. I'm formally now signing the pay apps to make sure that the work this invoice for is completed. And that's part of the process. When I get back on the 17th, on the 18th morning, I'll come see the annual financial statements and then get the
Yeah.
building corporation and US Bank. So yeah, those are really accurate.
yeah, we're not getting ahead on the payment versus what's being constructed. So I think it's been pretty close to what I can see anyway. So,
Yeah, that's right.
okay, so, any further discussion on that? Moved and seconded, we gonna vote? Mary Lou?
Aye.
Coker, aye. Johnstone?
Aye.
John Wall?
Aye.
Dr. Lemay?
Aye.
Next item is Sender Dalton invoice number 10326, approval for payment of $13,543.12.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
I'll second that motion.
Well, first we've got to find the money.
I do have
We
a,
have the money, Mary Lou, the question of paying the bill. Where we pull it from is not necessarily up to us. We have plenty of money to pay the 50,000 total, which and so we have updated year to date and the 41,000. We have plenty of cash to pay those out. So my motion stand, or motion stand, I second it, their email.
Okay, any further discussion on that?
may I add some quick information?
Sure.
Upon a very quick review, I do believe that based on unspent line items, as we are now in October, that the Riverboat Fund, the CEDAT Fund, as well as the General Fund, and more specifically, at least in part, in the clerk's office budget, there are various line items available to cover that amount of money without having to do an additional appropriation to the cash balance.
Okay, that's good to hear. Any other discussion? All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, Mary Lou?
Aye.
Coker, aye.
Aye.
Johnstone?
Aye.
John Wall?
Aye.
Bob Lemay? Okay, Carl can have dinner tomorrow. Next, we have Haas and Associates, stop 17 and 18 invoice to approve for payment, $4,447.25. This is the Stormwater Fund engineering cost, correct?
Correct.
Any,
We approved the proposal earlier on, and I think it was
John Walls made the motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that? Call for a vote. Mary Lou?
Aye.
Coker, aye. Johnstone?
Aye.
John Wall?
Aye.
Bob Lemay? Okay, next item, public workshop session. We've already talked about that. It's going to be hopefully on the 19th at 7 p.m., open to the public. Next item, salary.
First reading.
Pardon me?
It would be the first reading for the next one.
Yeah, first reading for salary ordinance, HR committee recommendation. Mary Lou?
I make a recommendation, and I sent out the salary ordinance sheet earlier today. It's for 3% for the employees.
Okay, is that a motion to approve that from first reading?
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion?
The only point I would make is you got in there a jump for the clerk treasurer, I believe, and I'm not sure if we think we do that, Chris, with an elected position like that, is that something separate from the salary ordinance?
The clerk treasurer didn't get an increase.
I think it's still 35,000, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't change it, John.
I don't know what I put that thing, but let's go with that.
It's still at 1440.
I think that's on the budget.
We did not change it. We did not change the salary for the clerk treasurer.
Okay, we can check it before this.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on that? So on first reading, moved and seconded. Mary Lou?
Aye.
Coker, aye. John Stone?
Aye.
John Wall? Bob Lemay? Okay, we're down to public comments. Anybody on Zoom have anything they would like to bring to the attention of the group?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, this is so far with the, I guess, city, Kevin is going back and forth about that for the almost, at least I know of it over 9 to 10 years. And in anywhere as a businessman, you cannot find, even at the McDonald's, you cannot find a person who works for less than $20. And looking at the education, looking at the experience, looking what he has done, I think we are really going back and forth, $35 or $40. And in the end, if he leaves, will there anybody know how much that will cost? I think before you make that decision, you have to be careful what you're wishing for. And you may end up somebody else paying $50 to $60 an hour. And he's ready to do that $40 an hour. I would suggest you should really take life for it, because you cannot find somebody else to do your work for less than $40 an hour. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Safar. Anybody else? Who? iPhone 13. Yeah, who? Identify yourself, please.
This is Dan Dufoy at 2305 Open Wall Drive. I'd like to thank the council for kindly bringing the street sweeping machine out last month. So if you could kindly have a schedule like every other week or every second Tuesday or something to keep the streets clean, that'd be great. We own the machine, we have the streets, it would be fantastic.
Thank you. Anybody else? No one? No one on Zoom? Okay. Anybody in the public here tonight?
Good evening, Council. Anita Remiges, 2300 Florimond. I came here tonight to talk about legal fees versus clerk treasurer fees. In the past, and there have been many comments about, several comments about legal fees and how do we reduce the legal fees in Long Beach. And having heard tonight about the clerk treasurer fee fiasco, and listening to and agreeing with Safar about you get what you wish for, I think that this is on this council and certain people on this council. I know Dr. LeMay has more than a few times brought up proceeding with letting this clerk treasurer go. And there have been, I think, the three members, Ms. McFadden, Mr. Coker, I'm not sure, and Mr. Johnstone, you've refused to do anything. The clerk treasurer referred to Dr. LeMay as having a personal vendetta. I think he was brought to this town by a group of individuals who seemed to look at this as an aha moment. It was not a well thought out decision. In my personal conversation, and I stick to facts, I try to, Mr. Defuniak said that he recommended to the Republican Party that not only was Clerk Treasurer Perry, he was not the right person for the job, he was absolutely the wrong person for the job. And I think that this has just borne itself out time after time after time again, including now his own personal legal fees. And it's just not being tracked. It doesn't seem to be an issue to this town council. And I don't know why you just want to let it ride out. Other than, continuing to keep Trista on. And then what you do is you get what you wish for, and now you're going to nickel and dime the building commissioner who has done nothing wrong, who has trained himself, and you're going to continue, as Zafar said, to worry about $35 an hour. No, we'll give him $40 an hour. No, let's make him wait for his pay until there's a contract, and then deny that you said that. So, I'm not sure what has to happen here, but the clerk treasurer, again, is an embarrassment to this town and is costing this town money, and you refuse to move to have him just get locked out of this building and he's not doing the work, so let people doing the work do the work. My other question is whether Laurel is continuing to work as was stated when she was hired for 20 hours, or if she's working more, costing more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, council comments? Anybody?
At the last town council meeting, when I raised concerns about late and non-payment for town invoices, Mr. Perry defended his job performance by stating that any deficiencies in his job performance were of minor significance to the town. Now tonight we find out about $50,000 that wasn't paid. This month's invoices from Senator Company, which went for 4 months or 6 months that I tracked, was $35,000 more than the same 6-month period the previous year. This is in addition to the $36,400 that Mr. Perry receives for not doing his job. He seems to spend more time playing pickleball than doing his job. In addition to hiring employees to do his job, our town administrator, Chief Swisty, has to spend way too much time cleaning up Mr. Perry's messes and doing the clerk's job because the clerk is never around. A few months ago, I tried to convince this town council to begin proceedings to have Mr. Perry removed from office for failure to perform his duties. 3 members of this council voted against that effort. It should be noted that after Mr. Defuniak retired, the Republican County Committee foisted Mr. Perry on this town at the behest of Mr. McFadden, who is now a Republican candidate for re-election to this council, and Mr. Ernie Summers, a friend of Mr. Perry's, and the Republican candidate for treasurer. In fact, I'm told they attended the swearing-in ceremony celebrating their coup. Mr. Perry told me on multiple occasions that he wasn't qualified to do the job, but as security, he would be just a placeholder. So that, heaven forbid, we wouldn't want to have a clerk treasurer who doesn't have an R after his name. This, in my view, is just another example of these two individuals, that is, Ms. McFadden and Mr. Summers, trying to impose their agenda on the town and get retribution for their perceived political enemies. Note that just to give you an example, just look at what happened to Mr. Wall tonight. It's certainly well known that Ms. McFadden has it in for all the Wall family, including John and his daughter. In fact, looking back over the last 3.5 years, when I served on the town council with Ms. McFadden, I noted that if she spent as much time working for the town as she does with her political machinations, we would be a much Beware of the two-party system. We can see it here in Long Beach as well as Washington, D.C. Many of you out there no doubt disagree with me on many of the positions that I've taken. Note the sewer, the deer hunt, the public safety building. But I've always done what I felt was in the best interest of the town. I hope that in the next election, you'll vote for candidates willing to do the hard work of the town between meetings, not just show up to meetings to look good at the meeting or show up for groundbreaking ceremonies. These candidates need to come to the meeting prepared, keep the best interests of the town in the forefront of their actions. I'm sorry to feel the need to speak and so frankly with all of you tonight about these issues, but I fear for the future of the town and will not forgive myself if I remain silent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else have any comments?
I do.
Okay.
I just like to address the building commission issue. We met for 2 hours in an executive session relative to the compensation of the building commissioner, and we spent quite a bit of time over the last 3 months over agonizing over the position, what it does, how it functions. The building commission happens to be my brother, and he has spent too much of his time trying to educate everybody in the council about what he does and how his operation functions and what he's done over the last few years, 6 or 7 years. I will tell you that just as far as anybody else has done business very as a building commission over the last few years has been very pleasantly surprised at how he's been treated, how hard he works, and the things that he does for the town. That department functioned very efficiently, effectively, professionalized it, and worked so hard to make that happen, in addition to some of the other people that helped him, John Coker, even the Wilkes, that in the last 3.5 years, I've been that department generates a fair amount of income. I shared that in the executive session. It's in the neighborhood of 160 or so thousand, depending on which year you look at. At a minimum, we got about $125,000 on average over the last year. Take out the one-off exceptions in the last year with the fire projects. So we're generating about 100 a quarter. So generally speaking, every year, that may make a lot down every year. In addition to that, in terms of revenue, it's one of the few departments in the town who does generate revenue. And we can adjust these at any time if we feel like we're falling behind as we look at how that department functions. I think you also need to be aware that he's done more than just a building commission job. He's done the MS4. He's gone out and got certification. That's quite a good time and effort on his part. Certified as an MS4 coordinator. We did not have those responsibilities prior to this year. For me on numerous occasions, and my brother as well. The MS4 duties are now our responsibility as a town. Previously had that LaPorte County as our umbrella agency. We no longer have that luxury, so we're forced to do this on our own. There's very serious consequences if we don't do what we need to do with the MS4. Same thing with the floodplain administration. Larry explained all that to the council at that executive session. So I think if you're paying attention, you realize that there's an awful lot of value that you provide. The danger, I think, Mike, Bob's comments were all day. You're not going to do the work as a council member to understand these issues when we have multiple hour meetings and you come back and ask questions that are obvious that we haven't done at home. It's very disconcerting to those who do. Mike, if you're going to negotiate with my brother and or whoever else you negotiate on part of individuals to feel like you want justice style or not lower than what we propose. Just for the public's information, after this whole issue was brought up by Mr. Fad and others, then my brother came to the council with a proposal for 2 options. One was to be an employee of the town at $40 an hour with the concurrent or other costs of the town, meaning payroll taxes paid by the town, insurance paid by the town, and some other incidental costs from being an employee. If you may or may not know, currently, we're paying him $35 on a contract basis, and he has to front all the payroll taxes, any other costs involved in that relationship. He proposed a $70 contract rate as opposed to a $40 employee rate that would include all of the miscellaneous items. He would pay his own taxes, he would have his own professional insurance and liability insurances, the public needs to be very aware of what's going on. Mike's proposing a $35 contract rate with no additional compensation, the insurance, or the other things clearly outlined in numerous conversations and emails, correspondence with the town council. So it's just beyond the pale that you're wanting to present a $35 contract rate, a one-year contract, and you don't even understand the difference between, you expressed that to me the other day, you don't even understand the difference between both. So for you to negotiate that is very disconcerting. It seems to me you don't even understand both. So that's the end of my comments at this point. I think this council needs to be aware that if Larry were to walk, you're going to have to find somebody to do the MS4, floodplain, and the building division. And I hope it's not another political act to bring in here just on the behest of the Republican Party, because we really need somebody to know what they're doing. We can't afford to, in this day and age, the complexity of the construction projects and the size, the magnitude, and the number of projects coming through, to have another political act brought in here by some council member or the Republican Party to really follow our, that's the end.
Thank you, John. Any other council members have any comments?
Just one comment based on what John just said. I did not mention an hourly rate in the contract. He's assumed that it would continue at its current $35 rate. I did not say that. I did not say that. Who said that?
Okay. Anybody else?
Did not say $35. I didn't say any amount.
Mike, I believe you said continue as president.
I said we would continue, we would take the oral contract, which we have today, and we would make it a one-year contract and put it in writing, and I would work with Councilman Willoughby, or Council Willoughby, to write that contract. Never once did I state it would be the same contract as it is today. Okay, you wave your red flag all day, Bob, because you got a lot to say, which is coming up in the political election, which was very, I would say, one-sided. So you can take your opinions, as far as I'm concerned, and put them wherever you think it's appropriate.
Well, let's try not to get personal here. Anybody else have any comments? Constructive comments?
You said that about 10 minutes ago, about getting personal.
Well, I am now because it's getting late.
All right.
Any other comments of claims approval?
Before I read those, Dr. Bob, you had a question regarding the monthly legal fees for Barnes and Thornburg, $2,105. There were actually 3 checks on the check register. I have check number 20158 for $871. I have 20175 for $871.
Okay, got that.
And I have 20205 for $363. That totals $2105.
What was the first one you got?
20159.
What was the?
Excuse me, 20158, 871.
Okay, 2 checks for 871?
Yes, one on the 1st of September and one on the 15th of September.
And how about the year-to-date total Barnes?
I don't have the year-to-date, I'm sorry. I thought, because at first Tim was going to be on Zoom, and he let me know 20 minutes before I got here that he would not be. So I don't have the year-to-date, but I'll get those. Okay?
Yep.
Okay.
And what they were for?
I'm sorry?
And what they were for?
Yes, I will.
I specifically want to know where they were, of course, legal expense.
All right. Thank you. Okay, for claims approvals, I have town check number 20147 to 20220, totaling $186,457.45. Water department checks number 54800 to 54816, totaling $111,746.59. And September payroll was $113,168.94.
To hear a motion to approve those claims?
I make that motion.
To hear a second?
Second.
When we approve all those claims except for the claims from Ernst and Thornburg, I'd really like to be sure we're not spending money that we're not supposed to be spending.
Then you want to change the motion, Bob?
Is a motion, my motion is a motion made and seconded.
Right, and I'd like to amend it to say, we pay them all except for Ernst and Thornburg, which we will pay once we see that indeed we are supposed to pay them.
Okay, heard the amendment. I assume.
That's only going to be if the person, and there's a motion and a second, so take a vote on that unless somebody's willing to amend the initial motion.
Yeah. Do we want to amend the original motion?
That's what I want to do, yes.
Well, it's up to who made the motion.
You made the motion, Mary Lou.
Okay, let's amend it.
And a second follows that.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the claims with the exception of Barnes and Thornburg claim. All in favor of the amended motion, say aye. Mary Lou?
Aye.
Coker, aye.
Aye.
Bob Lemay? And John Wall?
Aye.
Okay, here, motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye, aye.
Thank you, everybody.